Me have 2 left foot then, sir.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, man. See the buckler, the Nigeria, you know.
This is my show, and you will not drop word from me.
They even know them things.
TJ, I can't say that no. You're going to mash up somehow.
You know, say barber should just really there ready to make your cut.
So, where you cut before? The cut, okay.
Now I'm where I want to be.
The Cut is brought to you by Flow.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out, don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
How do we fund the tertiary education, and is there new money for governments to put in that area? And then the other question, is it the best spend to put the money at the tertiary level rather than at the early childhood, the primary or the secondary level? Those are the questions that I'll be asking my guests today on Lead Story as we discuss that very important issue, one way or the other, of funding education at the highest level of the education ladder. This is Lead Story on this Thursday. Let's go. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV. Tertiary education, we're taking a stab at looking at what people in the system, i.e. those who are students now, soon to be movers and shakers in society, how they believe that this issue can be tackled. Because it is true that governments around the region, governments like Jamaica, are struggling to put adequate spend into that very important area of the education continuum. And even as they contemplate how to put more funds there are other people elsewhere saying that, wait, the funding model for education, especially in Jamaica, is already lopsided. Too much goes to the tertiary level, and there is not enough input at the early childhood, the primary, and the secondary level. And they say in an environment where resources are short, then the resources are best spent in the areas that can redound to the greatest benefit in the country. But which area of the country, which area of the education sector would the spend best be directed towards? That's another argument. And depending on where you sit in on which chair you occupy in this debate, then you will see it a particular way. Those who are at the early childhood level say, look, the poor outcomes that we get at PEP and that we get at CSEC level, that is a direct consequence of the underfunding, the misalignment of spending at the early childhood level. So a government seeking after development, as Jamaica is best advised to spend more there. Others say no, because when you're talking about these skills that can lift the country beyond the point it is now, where higher levels of GDP will be unlocked, where specialist areas in the country start making a more significant contribution to the development of the country and the growth of the country, which are two distinct things, then you need to put the money into tertiary education to churn out better graduates. And so there's this raging debate about how to spend what exists. And then there are others who say, well, look, the answer is simply to bring new money into the system, and to bring new money into the system, whether through a matching concept or whether through organizing a loan arrangement where students can pay their way over time, but education is free at the point of use. That's the best way to solve this issue of tertiary education underfunding without troubling the other levels that themselves are demanding funding. It's a fascinating discussion, and it's not, there's one program is not enough to really delve all the way into it, but we'll do the best we can with the time we have this evening on Lead Story. Let's take our first break, and when we come back, I'll speak to my guests.
These days, challenges are everywhere and things are constantly changing, but independent living remains the same. Rising above physical challenges, we can help you do it. For years, we have been Jamaica's trusted provider for solutions to improve patient care, safety, and general quality of life. No matter your age or your physical limitation, we are the caring store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV, or at least welcome back. So my guest this evening, I was booked to have the leaders of both the student bodies at the University of Technology Jamaica and the University of the West Indies Mona. The UTech man is here, the UWI man is delayed. So we're cracking on with the man from UTech, Rick Darby. He's president of the UTech Students Union. Good to have you here, Rick.
Thank you for having me.
Right, and it's always necessary to tell the viewers that, you know, the Students Union is a body I thought I served well in my time. People would make the verdict on that, but it's an institution, it's an organization within an institution that does so much good for the broader student body and, of course, to regulate relations between the students and administration. Rick, people say tertiary education already gets enough money from the government purse, that taxpayers already foot a big enough bill, and that any more money that should be pumped into education ought properly to be put at the lower levels of the education totem, early childhood, primary, and even secondary. As a man looking to fuel, almost finishing with tertiary studies now, what's your perspective on that take?
My perspective is it depends on who you ask, because as a nation looking to develop, we must invest more into tertiary education, because we need a highly educated workforce in order for us to move forward as a country. So investing substantially in tertiary education will ensure that we achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm. All right. Insofar as the funding arrangements that exist, of course, you can privately fund your tuition through a loan from any lending institution. The Students' Loan Bureau offers a very good facility, and now with the various changes that have been made by government over time, the arrangements are not as usurious as when certainly I was a student. And then there are scholarships and grants that are bound to help a student through. But there is something fundamentally wrong with the model, because it still causes the student to pay a significant amount to access tertiary education. What are your thoughts about how we can make the arrangement more student-friendly, the funding of tertiary education?
Well, I think overall there needs to be more structure, because as it stands for the subvention, we keep on complaining about the subvention because it keeps 1 minute up, another minute down. And what the universities have been doing, whenever there's a decrease in the subvention, you realize that there's an increase in the tuition fees. Mm-hmm. And in that, in turn, we have a low retention rate, because we have a lot of students, they're dropping out because they simply can't fund it. Mm-hmm. Yes, the government has brought forward new ways of looking at student loans, so no guarantors, so that's a good step. Mm-hmm. But it also has this student needing to finish tertiary education. When they look at it, they're saying, okay, I've completed my education. Can I find a job that is able to adequately fund me, so to take care of me and my family, mm-hmm. while I'm able to pay back these loans? Mm-hmm. So while there are loans in place, there is still a high cost that we have to pay as students. So in looking at the model, we definitely have to relook it and rethink it, because there needs to be a consistent way of funding that the universities understand. So for example, is it that you're going to fund based on the output that the universities are producing to the workforce, mm-hmm. or is it that you're going to look at it from a research perspective, mm-hmm. where the universities are responding to different challenges you have in this sector. So looking at even climate change, is it that if one university comes up with the solutions to solve these problems that we're having, then we are going to increase that funding. So there needs to be a definite look at how it is at the moment. So UTech is an underfunded institution. Currently our subvention is about 3 times less than what UE gets. Are they 3 times larger than us? No, they're not. But we still have that challenge to face. And so going forward, there needs to be a different look, a different perspective. There needs to be a common understanding of what builds up the model of funding. So where are they getting the ideas from in terms of the funding, and then from there take the necessary steps forward.
Some people would say, just to pinpoint something you said, that the University of the West Indies is even more than 3 times larger than UTech, because if you look at the student populations as a marker, it's significantly more. And when you look at the fact that the UWI is funded by 17 governments in the region, and the UWI MONA itself, by unitarily, accounts for 60% of the total debt that the whole UE has across the region, then that gives us an idea as to scale. Additionally, the overhead expenses, the expenses that go into keeping the lights on at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies dwarf what exists at UWI. And then there's someone who say, but the UTech is the national university, and so it ought to take a pride of place. But the whole issue comes back, Rick, whichever way you look at it, to the pool of funds available to pump in. So you've touched on something regarding a model and how there needs to be a more equitable model that allows the student to fund their education through the various loan facilities, but at the same time take care of the things that they need to take care of coming out of graduation. I say to you that some people will say, well, there is an impatience among students because people graduate and want to immediately be in a position to pay down a student loan, pay down a car, pay down rent, or pay down a mortgage, take care of your girlfriend, take care of your mother and your father. And that's not sustainable anywhere in the world. And they remind you, Rick, that former US President Barack Obama testified that both himself and his wife Michelle, Obama for sure, he finished paying his students' loan only after occupying the White House. Yeah, so it was a long time, and he was a lawyer doing very well for himself, but it just could not be complete, and the higher salary of US president helped him to pay down the debt. So it is about balancing priorities and students realizing that you have to take ownership of the debt that you attract to pay your university tuition, and that you won't immediately be able to do all the things that you want to do upon graduation and pay off the debt just like that. That's the argument that they make.
Well, that's true. And just to correct something that you said in terms of the numbers, in terms of size, UE is 18,000 and UTech is 12,000. So the big gap that everybody thinks exists.
So when you go off campus, the open campus and the satellite branches, the numbers
in terms of
skew
MONA,
further.
it's 18,000 to 12,000 for UTech. So in terms of the large gap that we think that exists, there's not really a large gap. It's just a difference of 6,000 students. But in terms of funding per student, it's 3 times what UTech gets.
So I'm saying again, the issue of the funding, perhaps it is that the loan arrangements that exist for students, the difference could start there. And I want to hear you on how you think, on what loan facility you think could be set up to make it easier for students. Should the loan arrangement be tied to the individual salaries that you earn? What of those who take the loan and migrate? They say 4 out of each 5 university graduate goes overseas, and students' loan can't collect, so the fund can't be seeded to provide benefits to the next wave of persons coming. How do you see the funding arrangement where the loan facilities are concerned?
I think we can look at different models. For example, looking at, we have a lot of persons migrating because they're saying that there are more opportunities. So the lifestyle that they actually want to live when they're able to go overseas, then they're able to live a more comfortable lifestyle. They're able to take care of their families, etc. Even looking at our president was a UTech student. He left and he went overseas for 23 years, and now he's come back to contribute to his country. So one of the things that we can look at is having those international partnerships where even though they are abroad, they're still contributing to their country in some way or form. So finding a type of relationship with these different countries. We have so many ties with different countries where we can look at a funding model that still benefits.
So stick with that. So are you saying that among other things, when you take the loan here and then upon graduation go overseas, that there should be bilateral and multilateral arrangements in place with your employer in your new country to have you service the debt that you left here?
Definitely, because it has to be something where both persons are benefiting, because as university students, we want the funding to go to university, but upon leaving, we have a debt to pay. So there should be some arrangement where even if persons migrate, there is still an arrangement where they can continuously pay their loans.
Can or should?
Should. Can and should. So that more persons, it can be a continuous cycle where more students are coming into the system, so there's more funding available for those students who are coming after us.
Hear you on that. Let's take a break here on Lead Story CVM TV. Back with more. We're talking about tertiary education, and we're talking to students to hear their perspective on how they believe the arrangements that should be put in place to facilitate funding of this very, very important part of the education continuum. Yes, it is a continuum.
The time by Grace. Taste that moves you is
6:45.
That's me on the corner. People don't bother feel like you can predict who is going to be in the shop with me. A ship carry you back again. Controversial. How old were you?
8 years old.
Now we're contemplating. These are the digits. What kind of episode this was? Another junction in life.
I have two left foot then, sir.
Yeah, man. See the buckler of the Nigeria now.
This is my show and you will not drop word from me.
They even know them things.
TJ, I can't say that no.
You're going to mash up some house.
You know, say barber shop is really there ready to make your cut.
So, where you cut before? The cut, okay.
Now I'm where I want to be.
The Cut is brought to you by Flow.
Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. Just having some tertiary banter with the producer in the break. But we're talking about the serious matter of tertiary education and funding, because there was a study done by the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, which noted 4 out of every 5 university students graduating in Jamaica goes overseas. And you'd have remembered, to much controversy, the Students' Loan Bureau publishing the pictures of delinquent borrowers some years ago. And it was to the consternation of many that decision was taken. But the SLB was saying that, look, we have no choice. It's a revolving loan fund that is difficult to revolve when those who borrow, those who take, do not then reinvest in it by repaying their loans. And so we have no choice if we want to keep the loan fund revolving. And people were very upset with that. People contemplated court action. The SLB has resigned from that, but they still have the problem of people who take the money here, benefit from the funding here. When they go overseas, they close the door on repayment, and so the fund struggles. I have Rick Darby with me. He's the president of the UTEC Students Union, and he believes that, yes, there should be arrangements struck with those who are leaving and their receiving employers, so that the arrangement dictates, mandates that those who work in foreign countries after taking a loan in Jamaica, they make good on their commitment to repay, to seed the revolving loan fund. So that's one way we can look at it. I'm being joined now by Perry Cummings. Perry, are you there, the president of the Guild of Students at the UWI? Perry? Perry Cummings, good evening. Not hearing him yet. Right, Rick. All right, so that is one way. For a government that is not as cash-strapped as some before, but where funds are still tight, and it's a delicate juggling balance in Jamaica, balancing act. If new money is to be put into education, would you suggest that that new money be put to the tertiary level to do research, training, research and teaching rather? Or would you say that no, as it is now, put the new money into the earlier parts of the education continuum and let's realign what's available at the tertiary level? What would you suggest?
I would say it needs to go into research and teaching, because ultimately our universities are supposed to be solving the nation's problems. So whatever problems that we're having as a nation, it should be the job of the universities to solve those problems. So more funding should be placed into research so we're able to solve the different problems that we're having. So even looking at climate change as an issue that we're looking at globally right now. So we should have more funding there in terms of research so more persons are able to delve into the matters and come up with the solutions, because we are supposed to be the highest set of educated individuals within the country.
But the criticism comes now because here's the thing. People say that universities must go and raise funds for research, and that it is through research that you'd attract significant levels of funding to be able to offer programs at a rate that students can afford. And so an institution, a tertiary institution, should not sit around waiting on government to give it money to do research. The university should be in the business of designing projects, pitching to potential investors, getting that money to do the research, and then the chips will fall in alignment thereafter. And they say that institutions like yours, like my former institution, UTech, do not do a good enough job of going out there and attracting the kind of research funding that's necessary. What say you on that?
And that's true, because as institutions, we need to develop more partnerships with the private sector in terms of finding the solutions that they're having within their companies. And this also provides an opportunity for students, because we can have more research assistance as per students finding different ways, because funding tertiary education is not just about tuition only. We have to look at it from a holistic approach. What about when a student receives a scholarship? What about their other aspects of learning? So in terms of where do I live? How do I go to school? All of those things. So we have to consider that. So in terms of finding more partnerships with the private sector, solving their problems, that creates opportunities so these persons can come on as part-time research assistants. They're gaining meaningful experience while they're also contributing to the problem, to solving the problems of our society.
So if we agree that tertiary institutions are not doing a good enough job of going out there and attracting research funding, are we also agreeing that perhaps what tertiary institutions could do is to pursue what in finance they call the matching concept, whereby the university says, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to try to raise $50 million to do research in this area. Say something you have a faculty of health and applied sciences at UTech. You have School of Business and Management, the best, yeah, SOBA, yeah. You go bizarre, right? So you're going to raise $50 million to do some research in hospitality and tourism management. And let's pick that. But you go to a private sector firm, or you go to a collection of private sector firms, Rick, and you probably say, let's match. For every dollar I raise in private funding, I want you to match me. So the 50 million is really 25 from your own endeavors direct going to your partners, potential partners, and 25 comes from the private sector. So that way you get to 50 rather than sitting waiting on the government to give you 50 million to do that research, or waiting on the private sector themselves to give you that 50 million. That's something that I'm suggesting, and I want to hear you on it, if you think that's something that an institution like yours should be pursuing more aggressively.
It is, and in looking at one of the things that our current president is looking at in terms of reset, they're looking at being more research-driven and entrepreneurial, and that is something that the university, back then it would have had during Dr. Donald Sangsa's time, where a lot of the projects were undertaken by students, and the university coming out of CAST and then turning to UTech, we saw everybody was proud of being CAST, and then UTech, they were saying that we lost our identity and so forth. So it is something that they should definitely be looking at, and we've had several conversations, and we understand fundamentally that the government funding won't be enough. The university itself needs to find ways, creative ways of raising funds, and that is how us as students, because a lot of our modules, each student at UTech has to do an entrepreneurship module. So we're not just being trained to be employees, but also future business owners. And that is the way of thinking that we should have going forward.
Right. And I appreciate your Donald Sangster reference, but Alfred Sangster.
Yes, sorry. Alfred Sangster.
Alfred Sangster auditorium. If you're Dutch on it, you recall the auditorium and you say Alfred Sangster. It doesn't matter. We'll take Donald as well because he was an honorable man. I'll say this to you in closing, Rick, that tertiary institutions must accept that, like any other business, and they are businesses, they need to seed the clouds for their own rain. They can't sit and wait on a government to make the rain fall. And with that as the new business-centered approach, the reality of inadequate funding can change, I'm suggesting to you.
I think so, but definitely the government needs to carry its weight in terms of how tertiary institutions are funded. As we said, UTEC is the National Institute of Jamaica, the National University of Jamaica, and as such, the funding should reflect that. So for years, UTEC has been underfunded. So there needs to be more funding in that aspect, and then the university in itself needs to do a better job in terms of getting more funding, so doing more fundraisers and having more business ideas and coming up with creative strategies and creating more partnerships so there can be more funding into the university. But ultimately, there has to be more funding as well from the government in terms of its subventions contribution.
Hear you on that. There's just enough time for me to say that insofar as funding tertiary education is concerned, I believe that there is space, there is room for government to put a little bit more into the kitty. But at the same time, I'm also very aware of the complaints from lower down the education totem that enough is spent at the tertiary level already. When you look at the real situation, the real problem of a grade 7 student being incapable of reading at the grade 3 level, because the primary school that they're coming from is so under-resourced that the 43 of them who were in the class didn't stand a chance of all 43 of them absorbing in the way that they ought to the rudiments of arithmetic and taking on the literacy lessons and the numeracy lessons to put them in a position to do themselves justice from grade 7 forward. There is a severe retardation in the education continuum in Jamaica, and remember, it's the elite who go to tertiary education level. But there are so many people who are robbed of their potential to fulfill on their eliteness. And so it's a very good argument that new money ought to be spent at the lower level in the education continuum. But at the same time, tertiary needs more funding, and I'm challenging those who lead tertiary institutions. You got to think of this thing like a business. The days of the 1970s and 80s, and well, not the 90s, because the 90s were troubled. The days of old, when universities would sit back and get a huge check, huge subventions from the governments and get additional monies over the course of the financial year, those days are gone. You have to frame the season for your own harvest, as Shakespeare said, and I'm commending that approach to the tertiary institutions, even as the leaders of those institutions should lobby and advocate for ministers of finance and education to cut them a bigger check when subvention time comes. That's our time here on Lead Story this evening. I want to thank Rick Darby, president of the UTEC Students Union, for making this show happen, and thanks to our team. Anika Lewis is getting her equipment screwed in for the news at 7 here on CVM.
It's Once Upon a Sunrise. We're celebrating the art of storytelling. Our book begins with React, this time with a novel twist. Remember Anansi? We'll keep the tradition alive with Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks. Then Hezron is in the building to complete the web we weave. You don't want to miss this Friday on Sunrise.
I've been wanting to get to you for a long time. Shucky, ducky, quack, quack.
I'm getting scared. Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
That's me on the corner. People don't bother feel like you can predict who is going to be in the shop with me. A ship carry you back at you. Controversial.
58-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right here on CVM Television.
Small business owners and independent contractors get affordable insurance with Sagicor Pro Shield. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Headlines Thursday. Brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
Tonight in CVM News at 7. Soldiers exonerated in 2010 Keith Clark killing. Employees at Round Hill Hotel protest over profit share dispute. And Mandeville Mayor responds to accusations of theft. Also this evening in the business report, Sagicor Group Jamaica drives profits with core businesses. While in sports, Reggae Boys starting 11 revealed.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Thursday, November 14, 2024. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nika Lewis. The government of Antigua and Barbuda is again at odds with the Sandals Resort International over alleged unpaid taxes. Several media have reported Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown as saying the resort should either pay what's due or leave. The situation with Sandals is mirroring that of beaches resorts in Turks and Caicos some years ago, which led to a government write-off of millions in beaches taxes. So just how far will the Antigua and Barbudan government go to retrieve taxes it's allegedly owed by the hotel chain?
Sandals Resort International is yet to issue a formal statement on the matter that's been raising hairs in Antigua and Barbuda, with the government there threatening that the company will need to pack up and leave if it fails to honor its obligations to the government. But why the perceived angst between Prime Minister Gaston Brown and SRI?
To first coming to light last week after Cabinet invited Inland Revenue Department commissioners to its weekly Cabinet meetings on the 6th and on the 7th during its post-Cabinet media briefing. Cabinet made clear that Sandals was found wanting of almost $30 million. In fact, that was later corrected to $24 million after statements between 2017 and 2021 were audited by the Inland Revenue Department. And of course, audits for 2022 and 2023, it says, ongoing. It accuses the Sandals Resort of deducting some of the Antigua Barbuda sales tax, which is collected from its guests in the amount of 15%. That's what the ABST is. Deducting some of that for Sandals' own marketing of the destination and withholding some of those funds and paying what it deemed was left and fitting.
ABS TV's Ursel Charles says Brown made what some considered incendiary statements, insisting he doesn't care if Sandals leaves, adding the government would acquire and sell it to another company that will honor its tax obligations.
The comments made by the Prime Minister will cause Sandals, the brand, to pack up and leave the country. And of course, the Antigua Barbuda Workers Union, which is the main union in Antigua representing hospitality workers, in fact, almost 90%, pretty much chiding the Prime Minister on the comments that he made, suggesting that Sandals has been a good friend to Antigua Barbuda, hiring hundreds of employees, and of course that the government and Sandals should come to some amicable arrangement. The Prime Minister responding that he's heard comments from other CARICOM heads about Sandals and other hotel properties withholding taxes, and so that he feels will come up for discussion at the next CARICOM heads meeting.
But just how far will their Prime Minister go?
Based on the comments by the Prime Minister, he's willing to go as far as it takes. He's even accused or called into question Sandals' tipping policy or no tipping policy. And if he's threatened to go to court to change the Companies Amendment Act, which was last amended in 2020 when LIAT 1974 Limited came to a halt, we know that he's willing to take it all the way.
Meantime, the country is well aware of the potential implications if the hotel chain is shuttered, with some locals watching with anxiety as the matter unfolds. When CVM News contacted the company, the representatives shared no comments on the matter. Nika Lewis, CVM News.
And here in Jamaica, there is unrest at the Round Hill Hotel and Villas in Hanover as workers are disgruntled about how profit is shared up for them annually. They say they have had enough. Adrian Williams shares more in this story.
Employees at Round Hill Hotel and Villas in Hanover are unsettled as they call for immediate action to settle the dispute how a 15% profit share is allocated to them yearly. Assistant Island Supervisor for the National Workers Union, NWU, Alexander Nicholson, says this ongoing issue, what they call an incorrect profit share calculation, has been brought to the hotel's management.
It's been paid but not in keeping with the contract. So each year that they said, okay, let's give the staff this amount and then we'll have the discussions on the balance. But those discussions have never been forthcoming. So this time we're saying that we're not going to move and accept what you're saying now. We need to get to the bottom of it so the staff could get exactly what is theirs.
This 15% should be shared between all unionized workers at the hotel, but Nicholson alleges the hotel's management believes what is owed is too much to pay the workers.
But the total is an exorbitant amount that the management is saying that it's too much for these workers who have worked so hard over the years to ensure that Round Hill Hotel stand out amongst all the other hotels in Jamaica. This is a niche hotel that these workers have slaved themselves to make this hotel what it is. So it's unfair now to agree to a contractual item to give them this money and then now to say, oh, you can't get it because it's too much for you.
Union delegates working at the hotel say they've had enough of the promises and will accept it no more.
For many years now, we have seen where the calculation of such item is not being done correctly. And we have over many times tried our best to get company to resolve the issue, but we have been constantly asked to agree on taking what is there.
We give them a mandate, so they have a function coming up, and that function is a very important function, and it's gonna affect the operation, the sugarcane board, name a sugarcane board, and it's gonna affect that function drastically.
A meeting was held with the management and staff prior to this protest, but what was the outcome?
What was the outcome of the meeting? We emailed to the staff to give them the response for management. The response is not accepted by the workers, so we were given a mandate that we must meet with the chairman of the board, and the mandate is that if the chairman refuses to meet with us, we cannot guarantee normalcy going forward.
This is the second time since year that the hotel and its employees have faced off over monies owed. The first was settled amicably. However, the workers await a similar fate for what they deem unfair distribution of the expected 15% profit share. Adrian Williams reporting for CVM News.
After 14 years, 3 soldiers were today exonerated from the death of accountant Keith Clark. The servicemen, along with the Jamaica Defence Force JDF, are relieved at the verdict despite the challenges faced over the period. Lance Corporal Greg Tingling was represented by King's Counsel Valerie Nita Robertson and attorneys at law Kimar Robinson and John Mark Reed, while Lance Corporal Odell Buckley was represented by King's Counsel Peter Champagny and attorney at law Jodian Hammett. Attorney Linton Gordon and his son Obika represented Private Arnold Henry. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Jeremy Taylor, KC, led the prosecution team, which included Deputy DPP Latoya Bernard and Crown Counsel Dwayne Green. The situation stemmed from the May 2010 police military operation leading to the businessman being shot multiple times, which resulted in his death. Still in the courts, sentencing for dental assistant Coyote Satchel was today postponed due to the absence of a medical report. The sentencing date has been pushed to December 2 this year. Satchel last month pleaded guilty to inflicting the deadly wound to 8-year-old Danielle Rowe of Brayton Primary School in St. Catherine last year after abducting her from the school's compound. The child was driven to Kingston and disposed of on the side of the road, where she was discovered by a passerby who rushed her to hospital. She later died. Satchel's lawyer said they'd be seeking to have a reduced sentence last month when she pleaded guilty to the heinous crime that outraged the nation. We'll, of course, continue to monitor that story. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is championing a new vision for Jamaica focused on building economic self-sufficiency. At the heart of this vision is a major redevelopment effort in St. Thomas, setting the stage for similar initiatives across the island. Ramon Gordon has the details.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has a bold new vision for Jamaica, one that prioritizes economic self-sufficiency. He's positioning the St. Thomas redevelopment project as a flagship for a new type of development across the island, where fiscal agency is paramount.
The St. Thomas project is about us showing the rest of Jamaica, and indeed the rest of the world, that through our own resources, we can build our parish and we can build our country.
The project aims to revitalize St. Thomas with upgraded infrastructure, directly connecting it to the capital, Kingston, and driving significant local investment.
There are 150,000 housing solutions needed to fill the housing demand in Jamaica, and all of that can be built in Kingston. Some of it has to be built right here. So we're going to push housing development into St. Thomas, but for people to choose to come and live in St. Thomas, they want to know that they have good facilities here.
The Prime Minister was speaking recently at the soft launch of the Morant Bay Urban Centre, a hub for business and community services, aimed at making St. Thomas a vibrant, self-sustaining economy.
As a post-independence Jamaica, I have never believed that my progress, my prosperity and my development rests on anyone else. For too often there has been a kind of thinking that we must wait on foreigners, we must get debt, we must borrow debt or get grants to do the things we want. I do not believe in that. I believe that I can develop Jamaica. I can build Jamaica. You must build your own country.
Similar initiatives are unfolding in other areas. Kingston's waterfront is gaining a new park to enhance social and economic activity, while the Urban Renewal and Development Program has approved 70 projects across 55 constituencies, focusing on infrastructure and community growth. However, concerns linger in St. Thomas, where issues of water availability and other infrastructure challenges remain prevalent. For that, Holness gave the following charge.
Without the economy, the road can fix, the water can be provided, and what you will get from politicians who can't deal with the economy are beautiful sounding promises. I have come to change the way in which we do things in Jamaica.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
There's more to come from CVM News at 7 right after this break.
At 7 Headlines Thursday, brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
That's it, we're closed. I am so sorry, we only have 3 parties left.
It's a Jamaican thing, but full of flavor. Hey. We set the trend style major. Juicy party, have a savor. You know the party nice when we do the juicy party bounce. Party bounce, party bounce, watch it bounce, watch it bounce. Hot party, watch it steam. Juicy party bounce, party bounce, party bounce, watch it bounce, watch it bounce. Juicy party, ready for we go. From food I keep in our party. Juicy party, have something for everybody. So party for nice. Party bounce, watch it bounce, watch it bounce. Hot party, watch it steam. Juicy party bounce. Grab your family and do the juicy party bounce.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
The Courts Black Friday weekend deals just got better! Shop on November 15 to 17
2017 and get a Zorro 5-piece dining set for $23,999 and a Mira living room suite for $49,999. A Mabe 17-kilogram washer or a Frigidaire 30-inch gas stove for $59,999 and a Samsung 15 smart TV for $69,999. Every weekend in November is a Black Friday weekend at Quartz. You don't want to miss out on November 15 to 17. Quartz, bringing value home. Conditions.
Welcome back. Mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, recently addressed growing concerns and rumors circulating on social media, suggesting that there is no plan to raise market fees. Well, that's his response. But we hear more about that story from Britannia Witter.
Mayor of Kingston Andrew Swaby took the floor of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation's monthly council meeting on Tuesday to address what he describes as politically motivated rumors circulating on social media. The claims are that the municipality is planning to raise market fees and displace vendors in the corporate area.
It has come to my attention that there are individuals on social media, particularly those pushing a political agenda, that are claiming that the KSAMC plans to immediately raise market fees and forcefully remove vendors from the streets.
Swaby firmly denied these claims, reassuring the public that there are no current plans to increase market fees.
Let me be perfectly clear about this. As I have consistently stated, no decision affecting our vendors will be made without their engaging in thorough consultation and discussions with them.
He emphasized that the municipality under his leadership is committed to finding solutions that will allow for both the growth of the city and the livelihood of the vendors.
I have reinstated the vending committee with representatives of the vendors themselves, something that previous administration disregarded entirely. They abandoned discussion with our vendors, leaving their concerns unheard. With this administration, this is a clear difference. We are dedicated to ensuring that vendors have a seat at the table. This administration is about inclusivity, consultation, and respect for those who contribute to the lifeblood of our city.
Mayor Swaby continued with a stern warning to those who he says are involved in spreading false information.
My warning to persons who aim to misinform the public and to stir up fear and confusion, you will not succeed. Your tactics are evident, and they only serve to undermine the work that we are trying to accomplish. It has always been my practice to invite both sides of the political divide at all meetings. For the vending meeting, the ranking member have always been invited. However, he always provided an excuse and apologized for his absence. I have now invited the Deputy Mayor to be a part of the discussion with our vendors as we will try to find a workable solution that will promote transparency, accountability.
He promised transparency from his administration.
Let there be no mistake. Our approach will be transparent, fair, and respectful. And any attempt to distort the facts will be challenged at every level. The public deserve the truth, and we will not tolerate those who seek to manipulate it for personal or political gains.
Further dialogue is expected as the Christmas season approaches. Britannia Witter, CVM News.
Road repairs have commenced in Negril under the REACH initiative addressing damage left by recent storms. Member of Parliament Moreland Wilson shared updates on these and other infrastructure projects set to benefit Westmoreland Western residents. Shante McNeil has this one.
Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Western, Moreland Wilson, has announced the launch of critical road repairs in Negril as part of the $20 million Relief Emergency Assistance and Community Help REACH program. Following his recent assurance to residents, Wilson confirmed that priority work is underway to address roads damaged by Tropical Storm Rafael. The REACH program is aimed at supporting post-Hurricane Beryl recovery efforts, including patchwork on key highways through early next year. The MP shared other areas in the constituency also expected to benefit soon.
We have spoken about the REACH program. So as we say in Jamaica, the REACH. So the REACH program is here in Israel. We have a patching program going on the boulevard. We call it the Beach Road here in Israel. And you will see where the entire Beach Road is being patched out today. The REACH program will also see areas in Alma, Grange Hill, Little London being patched. So I'm going to use this opportunity to ask motorists, while you see these workmen out here, to just observe the flagged men and women that are here directing traffic.
In addition, the government's expansive $45 billion Shared Prosperity Through Accelerated Improvement to a Road Network (SPARK) initiative aimed at rehabilitating local and major thoroughfares will target around 60 primary roads and 600 key roadways across constituencies. Work on the SPARK project is anticipated to commence in the coming weeks.
We are due to see the start of the SPARK program in another few weeks. I'm going to ask persons as well who are in these communities who have been requesting their roads to be fixed. We so far have identified a few roads across the constituency. You can check out my social media pages to see where those roads are and which one was selected based on what you have recommended.
For CVM News, I'm Shantae McNeil.
Portmore's Deputy Mayor Alric Campbell has responded to NEPA's proposed partnership with the municipality, supporting the collaboration but raising key environmental concerns. Here again is Shantae McNeil.
Portmore's Deputy Mayor Alric Campbell has welcomed the National Environment and Planning Agency's NEPA recent interest in partnering with the municipality. The municipality has since invited NEPA's CEO Leonard Francis to Portmore to visit the area following his announcement of a planned partnership with municipalities across Jamaica. However, while Campbell has lauded this move for partnership, he has voiced several concerns, urging NEPA to address local environmental priorities.
I'm concerned that persons are weary of NEPA being under the direction of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. And as a result of that, in an effort to drive development and to drive construction and so on, the environmental impact on the people is sometimes forgotten.
He also shared his concerns for the Rio Cobre.
We also are concerned that a slated development that will concern chemicals may impact the Rio Cobre which is behind, and so we are waiting to see. Happily, we asked the question and we were told that no application has come to the council, so from that standpoint we will be on guard looking to see what will happen with that application.
He suggested NEPA adopts a move to protect natural resources in the area.
We want to call on NEPA when the works begin and the partnership starts to consider declaring that whole Dawkins Pond, Port Dennis Road area as a protected area, so that the natural resources that are there and the ecosystems can do their duty in protecting the people as we protect the ecosystems themselves.
For CVM News, I'm Shantae McNeil.
Lots more to come after this break. Stay with us.
But your jewelry lasts forever. Birthdays, engagements, anniversaries, graduation, or just because. Whatever it is, celebrate with Royal Jewelers. But we are more than just jewelry. Pick up your favorite scents and even the small appliances that's missing from your kitchen, all under one roof. Visit us at Shop 8 Tropical Plaza or Shop 3 Pavilion Mall. Royal Jewelers, timeless beauty within your reach.
Embrace the mix. Embrace the mix.
Cherry Red Passion. Embrace the mix. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Welcome back. It's now time for the Business Report with Joel Crossgill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. Emerging from the Sagicor Group Jamaica's Q3 press briefing, where the CEO and president of the largest company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange by market cap for the past 2 years, Christopher Zaka, reported a reduction in net profits relative to last year's mammoth $10.07 billion result.
The group made $6.6 billion year-to-date in net profit, and for the quarter alone, it was $2.63 billion in profit. The truth is, this year we have faced some economic challenges. The interest rates have started to come down, but they remained high for the better part of the year. And of course, there is a lag in the effect of reducing interest rates to translate into greater economic activity. So we haven't seen that yet. We are also, though, extremely pleased that our core business lines continue to perform in a robust way. I have to give a special word of thanks to Charbel Johnson Cunningham and our bank team at Sagicor Bank. They have outperformed a number of year-to-date statistics and metrics, and they have shown stable and consistent growth in many areas of their business.
CEO of Sagicor Bank Jamaica Limited, Charbel Johnson Cunningham, provided additional insight in the commercial banking segment year over year in creating new milestones of performance.
Sagicor Bank continues to deliver. This year, we're at 20% as at September year-to-date more than prior year, right? And this comes from the revenues are up roughly about 13%. And in terms of net electronic channels, that's up 20%. Loans, that's another 13%. So overall, year-to-date, the bank continues to do well.
Given the difficult economic climate and several one-off expenses that contributed to the decline in year-to-date profits for one of the oldest insurers in the Americas, SGJ has remained focused on improving service levels while driving internal efficiencies, strategies that have resulted in meaningful growth in the group's insurance revenues and net interest income over the prior year, as reported by Mark Chisholm, Chief Revenue Officer for Sagicor Life Insurance.
We have seen robust and strong revenue growth from both the long-term and the short-term business in the insurance market. Our core distribution channel, which is our sales team, internal sales team, they have been driving the sales. So we are seeing an 18% year-over-year increase when it comes to revenue. Also, our broker partners, which contribute significantly to the success and growth of both the long and short-term business. We continue to see strong, robust revenue coming into the insurance segment of the market. For example, when you compare 2023 to 2024, there was a $5.25 billion increase in revenue year over year.
There was, however, a significant loss within the executive team as the group president confirmed the resignation of Mark Thompson, CEO of Advantage General Insurance Company AGIC, a member of the Sagicor Group.
Mr. Mark Thompson, the CEO of Advantage General Insurance Company, has resigned effective October 31st, and we wish him the best going forward and very amicably determined the fact that he decided to move on for personal reasons.
Thompson, who has led AGIC since July 2007, playing an important part in leading the company's commitment to becoming the digital insurer of choice, has also stepped down from all Sagicor-affiliated boards. In the interim, AGIC's Deputy CEO, Dave Morrison, will assume the role of Acting CEO, managing day-to-day operations. Mr. Morrison, who is a chartered accountant, rejoined the AGIC team in 2009 and was appointed Deputy CEO in September 2023. Meanwhile, in the investment banking segment, Executive Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Sagicor Group Jamaica Limited, Tracy Ann Spence, noted some improvement in interest margins despite the challenge challenges posed by current market conditions.
Net investment income was actually up 8% year over year despite those challenges. That was primarily driven by increase in net interest income. In Jamaica, we had a 29% increase in net interest income, and we were able to do that through prudent balance sheet management. We capitalized on the higher interest rate assets. Despite rising funding costs, we were able to manage that effectively and improve our margins. Our recurring fee income, which is the fee income we earn from the assets that we manage, that has been trending in the right direction as well. And as I speak about the assets that we manage, we remain dominant in the unit trust space. We have a 36% market share as it relates to unit trust, and even within the challenging environment, the majority of our funds have outperformed their benchmarks year to date. When we look at the particular asset class segments that we track, of the 6 segments, we are top 3 in 4 of those 6 segments. So, it has been a challenging environment, but we do have some positives that we're proud about and looking forward to the quarter ahead and next year.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
Stay with us, there's more to come.
Small business loans is linked to so many stories of ordinary Jamaicans and their extraordinary success.
We're very proud to have helped small, medium, and micro businesses come to life and thrive over the years.
It's a demonstration of our strong belief in the business ambitions of Jamaicans. Come, talk to us. Tell us your business. Let's start a partnership and let your business plans appear in real life.
Parents, children, families, Jamaica! Lace up your running shoes and come run or walk with us as we take a stand against the child abuse at the CPFSA Jamaica Fit for Children 3K Run Walk on Sunday, November 17 at the Hope Botanical Gardens at 6:30 a.m. Adult 3,000, children $1,000. All proceeds go towards providing therapeutic services for children in state care. Go to the CPFSA's website, childprotection.gov.jm to register now. There is no excuse for child abuse.
KFC's popcorn chicken, now available in barbecue. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is 7.
Welcome back now for a quick check-in on our social media spaces.
So what's trending online today? Jamaicans with unpaid student loans who migrate to the United States will face significant challenges when they seek to update or renew their immigration status. The management of the Loan Servicing Department at the Students' Loan Bureau (SLB) says the government of Jamaica and their U.S. counterparts have forged a partnership to identify Jamaican immigrants with outstanding student loan payments. Here's how the public is responding. At Anne-Marie Tessalin comments, "While I agree that the loans are to be paid, why not find another way instead of this? Should you continue down this path, it's going to make it even harder for them to pay." At Dwayne 7166 adds, "You borrow government money and pay it back. I pay my student loan from overseas and others can do it." At the Premium Type shares, "Me never say me nah pay it back, but just not have it now." At Philly Got Faith replies, "Nothing wrong with that. Take time pay down, man." At Simona Stewart 75 adds, "People too unfair. You got help when you were in a difficult situation, pay back the people their money. So I agree, use any means possible to get back the loans." Right there, so. At Alim Lee Perfect says, "You take the loan, you must pay it back. Many can repay, but don't have the integrity to do so." And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM_television on Instagram. I'm Raheem White.
And now we look overseas with regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. Chairman of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Grenada Dickon Mitchell, has been amplifying the voices of SIDS in the region by bringing attention to several challenges. He told a leaders' summit of the small island developing states on climate change that money can be found to address the climate crisis, as trillions are